Hi, welcome to D-ConneXion TV. I'm Donzale Powell with D-ConneX LLC, and today we are going to be talking about the music industry. Today I'm so excited. I'm going to let Andy introduce himself, but I have Andy Sheridan, and if you could just tell people who you are, give a little bit of background about yourself.
Okay. I'm Andy Sheridan. I grew up in Ohio, a town called Washington Courthouse. Very, very small.
Okay.
Grew up there and I moved to Nashville, I think in 2007, 2008.
Okay.
So, I mean, Nashville feels like home now. But yeah, married to a beautiful lady named Melissa, who you know.
Yes.
And a daughter named Chandler, she's 5, and a son named Jet, he's 6.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I actually work right across the street.
Wow.
Well, most of the time. Recently I've been working at home, but yeah, the publishing company that I write for, Major Bob, is right across the street. So
cool.
We're neighbors.
Pretty much.
Literally.
Right, literally. So, okay, so I know we're in the music city.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're known for and have been for a very long time. So it only kind of makes sense for me. I wanted to make sure that I did a show that was based around the music industry and just getting a feel, because for some of us outsiders, we know music, but we don't really know any of the background things that happen, off the scene. So I just kind of wanted to hear from you a little bit. What kind of do you do and how you got your start? Like, what made you even think about music?
Good question. It's honestly, it's a great question. And sometimes it's hard to answer.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure like you, the path to get where you are takes so many different turns and twists, Yeah. But my job title officially is I'm a writer/producer for the company Major Bob. It's a publishing company. Mm-hmm. They primarily deal in country music, but, we do pop and rock. We do a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. But that's technically my job title, writer-producer. So, on a daily basis, my publisher, she'll set me up with other writers and other artists, and we'll collaborate together and try and write a song, usually in a day. And as the producer, it's my job to make the music and the track and the noise that goes behind it. I like to joke with my wife, Melissa, that really I just sit down in the basement and make noise all day. So that's part of my responsibility too, is to turn in the final product. They call it a demo, and then my publisher will take that demo, and hopefully the song's good enough, and they pitch it to other artists or other labels, other publishers, and try and get it cut, try and get it recorded by an artist.
Okay, so help me understand. I want to make sure. So is the noise and stuff that you're playing around with, you're doing that, especially at home right now due to Rona? Or what before was that all in studio, like in an office type setting? Mm-hmm. Okay, and then the collaboration part. You said that you're working with other people. So how, if you're doing that at home, how are you all able to kind of know what's going on at the same time to get something done in a day? That's what made me like, what?
I know. So for a while, mostly last year, it was all on Zoom. It was all online. Okay. Which was hard. It was hard for a lot of people, obviously, especially for creatives. When you're sitting in the room with somebody, there's so much of a connection that you play off of. And, if I'm playing something on the guitar or the piano and you're vibing off of that and we create this thing around that, that's so hard to do, through Zoom or FaceTime or whatever. So, yes, but in person, thankfully, more recently, lately, is great. We've been back in person, not all the time, but more, which is great. And it's different every day. It's similar every day in some regards. Like you try and, at least for me, I try and change up even just little things like the just like the different tones, different instruments that you're playing with, just to try and keep it interesting. Because it is a job, and I'm so thankful to have that job. But it's easy.
Something you enjoy.
Yeah, but it's also easy to get burned out on, like, especially, I was actually just talking to somebody yesterday about this. Songwriting in this industry, in this specific part of the industry, there's hardly any immediate gratification.
Yeah.
Meaning,
you
sit in your basement or you sit in the office and you collaborate with people, and you're pouring your heart into it. You're really going for it, and then it just kind of, my publisher Tina, she's amazing, and she is so good about giving feedback and like, hey, I love this song, or like, hey, let's try this, try that. Yeah. But then it's usually that's it.
Yeah, that's how you get right.
Where, in TV or, live shows or whatever, there's an audience, there's like that immediate like haptic feedback that you can feel, that you've practiced for so long and you've prepared and you perform it or whatever, and there's that feedback of like, oh, okay, great, I can feel it,
That totally makes sense.
With songwriting and producing, it's a little bit different. It's just that gratification is just delayed a little bit.
That behind the scenes, I can totally understand, and even I can relate to how you were talking about how not being in person, just even hearing tones. So like, let me give you an example. So for a while, I was not going, I was just doing basically your YouTube, church, Zooms, and like you said, same thing. Right. And the first time that I went a while back, literally just sitting there listening, like it was almost like it was booming from the ceiling. Like it was a completely different experience from me sitting there watching. Though I enjoyed it while I was watching, but now it's like I don't even want to go back to watching it. Like I was like, no, that's not the same thing. So I get it.
It's not. Yep.
All right. So I remember previously we talked before, and you had kind of mentioned that you had done some traveling around the world, some of the things that you've done. If you could kind of give us an idea of what types of things that you were doing, and what did that look like?
I guess that also plays into your previous question of like, how did I get here to this spot? For a long time, I toured. I was a musician. I still am a musician, but I played music. I played keys, guitar, a couple other things for artists, and we toured everywhere. And I was really fortunate, to get to do that. That was when I first moved to Nashville. That was kind of the dream. I mean, the dream was really just to like make a living in music somehow, So I was really blessed, really fortunate to be able to play for an artist that, we did a lot of cool things that I'm really thankful to have been a part of. But yeah, I've been all over the place.
Oh my goodness! Like, give me 2 examples that you feel like, man, it was
Australia, Japan, South Korea, Guam, Germany, Italy, England, Ireland.
Wow. Oh, okay.
Spain.
So just go ahead and go all the way around the world. So were you doing the same types of things in each place, or it just kind of depended on whatever the job was?
Similar in all of those things. It was the same guy that I played for. His name was Hunter Hayes, country artist. And a lot of those places we were actually doing shows on military bases. So we were doing, it's called USO or Navy tour. So you go to a Navy base or an Army base, and they set up the stage, and you play for men and women there, and that was really fun. That was very, very fun. A lot of cool experiences there.
That's awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
So you kind of alluded to this earlier, but I do feel like I have a little bit of an inside track because I do follow your family on social media. Yeah. Love seeing them. Your wife, daughter, son, like all of them I feel like are amazing people. So I know that you have to be good people. I'm like, there's no way that she would keep you around.
I feel like I maybe snuck in,
But kind of, I've seen videos of you all playing or her singing and things like that. So how do you feel like music has impacted even your life at home? Like, is that something that you all do on a regular basis? You play with the kids, or you just allow them to kind of venture out? What does that look like?
I feel like it's always around. Okay. It's that's how it was for me growing up. Both of my parents played piano and sang in church and everything. So I grew up doing that, grew up around it. It was always around. Same thing for us, for our kids. Melissa sings, and we've got the piano, and they, Jet is playing the drums now and all that. So yeah, it's just kind of always around, trying to encourage, or at least like provide that environment for them to just
outlet to me. It's because you've got your schoolwork, you do have your regular play, but then it's almost like even though it's music and you get to be creative, it's still structured. Like that still requires quite a bit of thinking, memory, executing. So yes, I love that. I think for me as a kid, mine was I did play the flute.
Oh yeah,
for a very short amount of time. But
did you play in like marching band or anything like that?
No, I quit right before we were gonna go into high school. I was like, no, I'm not gonna do it. I wish I had but I didn't. Hey, like you said, we all make those track changes. Right. But and softball is another one that again, it's fun and you're playing, so it could be any sport, but you're still literally having to use a lot of skills, teamwork, and all those things. So I appreciate you doing that for them and letting them kind of grow up like that.
Yeah, I can't teach them about calculus, but I can try. I can try and teach them some music stuff.
Gotcha. Yeah. So, tell me. Obviously, especially before the pandemic happened, there's events, there's festivals, all kinds of things that are always going on. Are there any events or things that you all, or that you recognize in the music industry to say, ooh, this is something that people need to go to, or this is kind of whether it's kind of unknown or whether it's really popular? Either way, something that you're just like, yeah, people should really do this.
Interesting. There's a lot of cool stuff. Obviously here in Nashville too. A lot of people that come into town that want to see live music. Where should we go? Where should we go see a show? The Listening Room is really cool because they have songwriters and artists that they line 4 or 5 of them up on the stage and they kind of take a turn and each play a song that they've written. They talk about the song. That's a really cool experience for people, because it's kind of a behind the scenes, like, especially if it's somebody that's had some song, had some hits and had some songs that you would know. Yeah. They're like, it's cool to hear like the person that wrote that song play it and talk about, writing it and stuff like that.
Now, do you ever go to, what is it? What is, the
like
big one?
CMA Fest?
Yes.
I mean, I've played it. Yeah. Okay. I've played it. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm not a huge like crowd person, I mean, we go to like Disney World and stuff, but like, yeah, it's especially after working there or like playing it,
You're like, give me a break already.
Yeah, it's a lot of people. But yeah, I mean, that was to have it canceled last year and it's canceled again this year. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. And I know it's kind of a bummer for a lot of people in the music world too, because especially in the writing world and like, down here on Music Row, like we take a lot of cues from live music and, like if artists aren't playing, if tours aren't happening, it's kind of this snowball effect down to like what we do. Yep. But, thankfully people are still recording music. People are still putting music out, people are still writing even through all that. But live music, there's nothing like it.
I've never been. I do want to go. I've wanted to go for several years.
To see Mayfest?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you got to do it once.
I'm not a huge crowd, especially not out in the street like that. That's a little bit much for me. That's a lot. But I think I can do it. I just need to be with the right group to kind of feel like, okay, somebody out of our group knows what we're doing. We're not just wandering around.
You should go just to say you went. You should go.
Yeah. I think now I might give it a minute. So whenever they open it back, I might not do that one. I might do one.
Next year, maybe.
Just a lot going on right now.
There's a lot. Yeah.
Okay, so as a writer, where do you feel like you work best in that, or have the perfect space, I guess? Because for me, I can only imagine, like, for me, I would need total quiet. I would need, like, my brain, I have to completely compartmentalize and say,
it's hard to find, though.
This is what I'm going to do. So I'm just wondering for you, some people, it comes super natural. Like you could be sitting there on the bus and you're thinking in your head lyrics and all kinds of stuff. So how does it work for you?
It's a lot of that. Have you seen the movie Soul yet? Oh, it's so good. It's a Pixar movie.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yes.
So in the movie, I won't spoil it for anybody, but they talk about being in the zone. Like when in this specific example, it's regarding music, but I mean, I feel like it applies to athletes. It applies to everybody, like when you're just kind of like super focused and you go in the zone. They have like they animate it in a way where it's like a place. But to find that, I think takes a lot of different things. And like you said, I mean, like even driving on the way here, you know, you're thinking about like either it's life stuff or like what you have to do today, you know, and then all of a sudden it could just be an idea that just kind of comes in and you're like, oh, I got to write that down. You know, it's in my phone, you know, like it just got this note, you know. Melissa actually she's way better at that than me. Yeah. She always jokes about writing her ideas in the minivan, you know, driving around with the kids, you know, whatever. It can be challenging with, you know, 2 small kids that are running around upstairs and playing the drums and, you know, all of this stuff. And I'm downstairs trying to, like, you know, trying to, you know, make something happen. But yeah, that inspiration just kind of comes there. I think there's an exercise. There's things that you can do to foster that, to like cultivate that. It's like an exercise, really. Like I tell a lot of people that writing is like exercising. It's a muscle that you can build up, you know, and sometimes you don't want to work out, right? Like sometimes you know,
like, just leave me alone.
But when you exercise that, it gets stronger. And so being creative and finding inspiration, I think is a little bit like that too, where you're like, okay, even if you set aside a couple minutes a day, first thing in the morning, or maybe right before you go to sleep, like it helps you get better at even just recognizing inspiration, you know?
Got it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I always kind of wondered about that just because of how mine works. But like I said, I know everybody is different. Yeah. So
it'll come
that channel
middle of the night, you know, eating dinner. I mean, all the time.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
So let's say, because our audience that, you know, views the shows and the channel vary drastically. So let's say there's a high school student or maybe a college student that is interested in music and they're like, not really sure which avenues to go. Or let's say it was kind of like how I was kind of in the midst of, I liked it, but didn't transition over and didn't kind of stick with it when I could have. So do you have any suggestions just for different things that young adults might want to even think about when they're thinking about music, or avenues that they might be able to take if they're kind of curious?
Good questions. I try and reflect on, you know, what other people have told me along the way, and something that sticks with me a lot, and something that I try and tell people when they ask, if there's, you know, the entertainment world, the music industry, it seems very glamorous from the outside. Like, oh, we're riding on tour buses. I make millions of dollars a year. That's not all true. It's incredibly hard work, and you know, it's hard work. So something that I just try and be really honest with people when they ask that question is, if there's anything else that you can imagine in your life doing and being happy at, do that. Because music is just, it'll wear you down. And I mean, I'll say the entertainment industry,
right?
It'll wear you down, and there'll be plenty of days where you're just like, God, why? What am I doing? There's a lot of that. There's a lot of days like that. So you have to have like that perseverance. You have to have just that gumption, you know, to like get through those hard days. But I will say too, like, just some other practical advice would be like, you know, if you're watching this show and you live in, I don't know, Nebraska. Nebraska doesn't necessarily have the best music scene, entertainment scene. So maybe it's a matter of moving to Nashville, New York, LA, and being plugged into that community. Somebody else told me, you know, it's that saying, you must be present to win. You know, when you play the game, like you gotta be here, you gotta be plugged in, just meeting people and expanding your circle. And because, you know, like you'll meet somebody, you know, and that somebody knows somebody's brother.
Absolutely.
And that brother's uncle like works at this thing, and then all of a sudden, you know, you're just growing your circle like that, and it's organic. And a lot of that happens just by doing doing things and being around, whether it's church or your neighborhood, your friends, whatever it is. So
yeah, people start to slowly be like, oh yeah, he does music. Yeah. Oh, I've seen him. He does. Yeah. So I can see so many layers to it, because it's almost like not only do you have to be talented, like you said, you got to be kind of visible in some type of way, whether that's, virtually or, out in person.
Right.
It's just so many dynamics that I can definitely see. Even pressure from the expectations that are kind of put on you. I can only imagine what that looks like, especially if you start to work with really celebrities or people that are just kind of in the limelight. Those levels of having everything perfect and everything quick and immediate turnaround. I can only imagine what that's like. So
it's a lot.
Yeah. So really taking stuff like that into consideration when people are thinking about their own personal personality, when they're thinking, is this something I want to do? Like you said, it looks great, but...
And you touched on it too. I mean, managing expectations is a huge part of it. You can't move to Nashville, LA, or New York and expect something to happen, within a week. Maybe it will. I mean, that's awesome. Like best case scenario, right? But just managing that expectation and just being real with, being thankful for opportunities that you have and being a part of whatever it is that you're being a part of and being thankful for that, I think like helps you nurture that ability to sustain the ride, because who knows, it takes a week or a year or whatever for something to happen, whatever that was. Like for me, when I moved here, I went to Belmont for a couple years and, met some people that I still talk to today, which is cool. But like on the side, I worked at a dinner theater, where they put on musicals and stuff. And I played in the band there and I did like sound, like all this stuff. And that one job that I got working at the dinner theater where Melissa worked actually too. That one job, I worked at 3 or 4 different dinner theaters, but that one job, that one theater is the connection where I met the guy that eventually I would go on the road with for my first touring gig, where I was paid to be on the road.
Yeah.
So you just never know.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. But so that's almost a perfect segue to one of my other questions. So I've always heard, you got your starving artist. Now that starving artist could be anything from painters, musicians, photographer, any creatives. Right. You got this stigma of always these people that are out here starving, but they're doing their passion. They're doing what they love and all that. Right. So give me your thoughts on what that environment, is that true? Or percentages, if you had to guesstimate to say, probably X, Y, or Z is going through
I thought about that on my way here.
Yeah.
Because you sent me some of the stuff ahead of time, and I thought about that one on the way here. And it's definitely true, and I think people use it in different, in different ways. So, for example, like somebody could say, "I'm a starving artist," and that means like, "Man, I'll do like whatever it takes. Like this is like my priority, and I'm putting all of my eggs in this basket, and like I'm not worried about whatever this and that. Like I'm just gonna make it." That's like one example of it, and I mean, I don't know. I think I have mixed feelings about it, to be honest, because like, especially, I mean, I'm grown. I'm not young as I was, like I've got a wife and a kid now, right? 2 kids and a wife. There's a level of responsibility that you have to have where it's like, if you're starving and your family's starving, like literally you got to go get a job, like even me right now, I've been all over the world. I've played at the Grammys. I have a Guinness World Record. I have all of this stuff to my name. I still work part-time jobs here and there. I work at a farm. I do just whatever, right? Just like make a little bit extra money. So I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it. I totally respect the grind and the hustle that it takes and that focus and determination. But also at the same time, there's a level of responsibility where like it can be detrimental to your health.
Yeah.
And then I'm not talking about literally, like there's literally starving people, so that's also the other side of that where I'm like, I don't know if that's the right thing to say. But yeah, it's maybe more tongue in cheek than anything.
Okay. Yeah. I wasn't sure, especially here in Nashville. Now, obviously we do have, different populations. Like we have all kinds of, even our homeless population here, it's growing quite a bit.
Sure is.
Not just downtown or anything.
Oh, yeah.
All of the suburbs are also, I didn't realize the magnitude until probably within the last 2 years. I knew it was bad, but I didn't know it was quite as bad as it is. And so I was just wondering if some of those people were just dealing with issues like that, where before, if you're in a tourist city, you could be playing something every night. You have your gigs, you're packed, and then all of a sudden here's a pandemic and people can't really get out. And so what do you do? Like literally, what do you do? So I was just kind of curious if what changes. And really, so I guess in your opinion, as far as music goes, just music in general, not just necessarily here in Nashville, have you noticed a shift or a difference since the pandemic? Like, do you feel like people are now listening to it more since they can't do other things? Or do you feel like it's tapered off because they're trying to focus? Like, just curious.
I don't have the specific data, but definitely like streaming has increased, like Spotify, iTunes, like all of those numbers are way up, you know, which is good. You know, people are sitting around at home for a long time, and music and that entertainment, you know, can kind of help. I think there's been a huge change over the last probably 10 years for sure, just in the way that music's consumed. And I think last year, if anything, just sort of, I think, solidified that where we are at now is the way forward for a while with streaming platforms and digital media. It's like, this is it, you know, this is the way, you know, and that's why I always encourage young artists. Like there's so many different tools that you can use to upload your own music to Spotify and to iTunes. And a lot of people just don't know that. Like they think, I got to sign a record deal and I got to do this, I got to do that. And it's like, no, like you can literally log on to a website and like pay a little bit of money and put your music out there, which is great. So I think last year, with everybody being home and streaming being the way that it is, has really like, you know, kind of put a stamp in it to say like, this is what it is for a while. Well,
I did that. So for instance, I know I talked about the kind of young adults earlier, but to me, there's so many that are so talented and they're so good with the technology. So I can only imagine that they could really, I mean, if they have some good stuff, and like you said, if they stick it out, they might be able to really do not everything by themselves, but do a lot of it to where they could at least maybe get their foot in the door some type of way. So that's very interesting.
I mean, a lot of people use the Billie Eilish example. Her and her brother have won multiple Grammy Awards now from a record that they made in a bedroom, literally.
Wow.
Yep, just the two of them. Yep.
Okay, did not know that.
Yep.
So just, I always like to offer all of our guests, if there was anything that you just kind of wanted to share or ways that people can get in touch with you or know kind of, if they want to find out more, they're like, man, I need to meet this guy.
Yell at me about something I said.
Well, what would you want to tell them?
So I actually just want to do a quick plug for an event that Melissa has coming up. It's called Over the Edge. And I think you should probably do it. I think we should probably figure out a way
about that.
Yeah. So it's June 19th and it's called Over the Edge, and it's raising money for an amazing organization called Youth for Christ, and it's where Melissa works. And if you can put a little bit of money down up front, and then you do some fundraising, and then you can rappel over the side of the Omni Hotel downtown. It's about 21 stories, and it's great. I think you would love it. Oh, you know what? Maybe some of your viewers could put together some money to send you over the edge. Okay. I'm just putting that out there. If you guys raise some money,
I can find you somebody that could actually rappel over.
Great.
The way my heart is set up, I could not. But I know somebody. If they want to. Yes, we could raise money so they could go do
I'll send you the website, and maybe you can put it up on your socials and stuff. Okay. But it's called, I think it's just GreaterNashvilleOverTheEdge.com. It's got all the info, all the stuff.
Well, I'll tell you what, Andy, thank you so much for being on D-ConneXion TV. I appreciate it. And we appreciate you all tuning in. Until next time.